Welcome back to Rem Con Raiders, and behind me is the tortuous track that these 1/10 scale nitro trucks are going to have to negotiate. Remember, 6 teams participate, but only 3 go through to the quarterfinals. And this is what it's all about. Rem Con, that's remote control car racing on this purpose-built track. These single-cylinder 2-stroke motors pushing these trucks up to nearly 50 miles an hour. This is round 1 of the Knockout Championship. Down by the side of the track is Sophie.
Once again, I am back on the dusty track, introducing you to the drivers and their teams and seeing how they react to the bedlam and mayhem we're going to cause for them today. It's just getting more and more tense.
Now, with only 5 minutes between each race, these cars need to be fixed, and meeting them in the paddock is Michelle.
Hello and welcome to the paddocks. This is going to be where all the drivers are working furiously, repairing any damage to their car, just tweaking them, making sure they're ready for the following race. But it isn't quite as simple as that. There are only a few minutes between each race for the teams to get their cars back out onto the track. And when the time is up, this gate will come down. I'm in charge, and when it's down, if you're not through, you're not in the race.
Now, 48 teams have started the knockout. You can see that 6 cars will be in this show. Only the top 3 will go through to the quarterfinals. These are our 6 teams. Remember, in each team you have a driver like David Clutterbuck and the mechanic like Joanne Russell there to fix the car between each race. This is Carl Kimberley and Richard Kimberley in Team Quicksilver. Darren Vero right there in GPS Racing from Northampton. Young Ben Locke with his dad Jonathan Locke mechanicking for him. One of the cream of the crop in Great Britain. And this man James Slater, mechanic by John Marshall, should show well here today. They're from Shropshire. And this man Lee Bunker, over 6 foot tall, dwarfing Sophie there, mechanic by Stephen Chin. This is Heat 1. This is a purpose-built racetrack. There will be 6 marshals dotted around the track. Their job is to put these trucks on when they come off. The trucks leaving the pit lane there. They have one warm-up lap. You can see from the onboard camera how rough this terrain is. You can see turn 1 as they come over Death Valley. That's a jump where they can get T-boned over the tabletop and then through the infamous firewall over the water jump to complete 1 lap. As I say, this is a purpose-built mud and clay track. The grand prize are CML gas trucks, state of the art. This is heat number 1. Each one of the teams will start on the front, the middle and the back of the grid in the 3 heats, waiting for their aggregate score to give them their grid position in the final. These are the radios that they'll be using to control their trucks as they stand on their podiums next door to the track. Okay, now we are in heat 1. There are 12 laps in this heat. Let's have a look at the lights. They're looking at the red. The mechanics are holding the trucks. It's amber. Heat 1 is underway, and away we go, and straight into the lead it is Dave Clutterbuck, and over the Death Valley jump goes Dave Clutterbuck, moving round turn number 3. There's Dave controlling the car over the firewall. You can see the cars getting torched there. Now snaking through T-Bone Alley and over the water jump. These leaders will be crashing into the back markers later. You can see him leaping the water at the end of lap 1. It's Dave Clutterbuck from Darren Vero right from James Slater over that firewall. And Darren Vero right has made a mistake there. He would have lost the position. This is the race leader, Dave Clutterbuck. He noses into the Armco. Dave Clutterbuck then needs to be rescued by one of the marshals. Where are the marshals? Are they on hand to try and bring him back in? That means the lead will be handed over. You can see Dave Clutterbuck there sort of swearing at the marshals, but they will get him back online. But it looks like it's this man now, Darren Vero Wright, taking the lead. Darren Vero Wright coming up over the firewall. Darren is now comfortably in the lead, rounding there, but it looks like Lee Bunker has just knocked him up the back. Lee Bunker now crashes into race leader Darren Vernon Wright. That's the back marker. Lee Bunker taking out the race leader. Let's see what happens. It looks like James Slater has now inherited the lead after that shunt. I'm now joined by Chris Kennedy. Chris, tell us about these cars.
It's important to have these engines running at the right temperature to give you the maximum performance. All these nitro trucks using the 2.1cc 2-stroke fuel-powered engine.
Well, it's been carnage out there, but it is still James Slater out front from Ben Locke, from Darren Vero right. The question is, who will win this first heat? We can see Darren there looking anxiously, trying to hold back that second position as James Slater goes over to finish lap 6 of this 12-lap race. The cars go flying through the fire. You can see them now weaving towards. That is Darren Vera right, and that is James Slater coming up to lap 3rd position, man. James Slater, there's Dave Clutterbuck now back in 4th position, again hitting that Armco. Dave Clutterbuck can't seem to be getting it right. James Slater goes over the top of David Clutterbuck at T-Bone Alley. Both cars quite lucky to survive there. We're getting the final lap board now as James Slater comes over to take the win in heat number 1. So car number 5 takes the win. That is James Slater, and Ben Locke very close in second. Remember, they will change positions on the grid now in the subsequent heat.
How did you actually find the track? Was it as hard as you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, it's quite narrow to what I'm used to, but it's really tricky, but just take it steady and it's all good.
How about that wall of fire?
Yeah, that's good, man. I like that.
These guys are the guys that didn't actually finish the race. What happened?
We broke a ball joint on one of the corners over the back there. Nothing major.
Nothing major, because on my stopwatch 2.5 minutes has gone. Now that means there is only 2.5 minutes to get through that gate with your car, and you're still working frantically. Is it going to be ready?
Oh yes, sure will be.
And last but not least, number 2. Now your car's looking very, very dirty.
Yeah, I've been upside down most of the time and not actually racing.
And you're the driver.
I am the
aren't you?
driver, yes.
And you're the mechanic.
It is.
So it's your fault that this car's looking in such a mess.
Absolutely, nobody else's.
Chris, tell us something about these radios.
It's a 2-channel radio, and on the left-hand side of the radio, you push the stick forward. It makes the vehicle go faster and faster till you reach the stop point and you're at maximum revolutions.
Well, it's all about car control. Thanks, Chris. This is Heat 2. Ben Locke on the right of the screen and Darren on the left-hand side. We have a green and away we go. Ben Locke taking an early lead. The orange car of Lee Bunker coming up in second position, but it is young Ben Locke rounding turn 3. And there he is. You can see him focusing on the firewall, and he leaps through the firewall and the fire flames all over the front of young Ben Locke's car as he goes over the water jump. Rounding turn 4 and coming down to complete the end of lap 1, and we have Ben Locke from Lee Bunker and Dave Clutterbuck in 3rd position. Chris, the setup of the suspension is essential.
That's a very good point, that, Russ. A very good point indeed. 4-wheel independent suspension with long-throw oil-filled adjustable dampers, and race-developed real rubber tyres with special treads and spikes for a wide variety of surfaces.
Well, there was a big shot there. Ben Leader, race leader, being taken out by Darren Vera Wright. That means that Ben now will be pushed down into second place. He comes through the firewall, but for my reckoning, that means, and Ben Locke has got pushed in against, and that's Lee Bunker, second position. Lee Bunker now crashing into young Ben Locke again. And again, there's Dave Clutterbuck coming through. Ben Locke all over the place. And you can see poor Ben Locke. The marshals are desperately trying to get the young guy back onto the track, but it's all gone completely horribly pear-shaped for the young guy, and it leaves Lee Bunker now out front fighting with Dave Clutterbuck. Lee Bunker nerves Dave Clutterbuck back into second position, and Dave Clutterbuck now struggling round the final turn, but it looks like Lee Bunker now consolidates his lead, and that's James Slater now down in 3rd position. Well, it's certainly all about grip here in truck racing, eh, Chris?
And these tyres do get very warm indeed, so you need a tyre that's going to give you a good performance over the 5 minutes.
Well, there's James Slater still in 3rd position, coming round down onto the start and finish straight. You can see it weaving down there, but this is the race leader, Lee Bunker, going through the final firewall, but Darren Vera Wright making a mistake. You can see Lee Bunker there, focused on the radio, looking down from his vantage point, at least 8 foot up, looking down over the clay track as he rounds turn number 1. It's Lee Bunker from James Slater, David Clutterbuck from Ben Locke. Let's have a look at Lee Bunker. This is almost a demonstration run now as he smoothly goes over the firewall. Narrowly T-boned, almost getting T-boned by James Slater. Coming round onto that start and finish straight. The fluorescent car of Lee Bunker coming round, a copy textbook race here. 12 lap races. This is Carl Kimberley there back in 6th position, making another mistake, but it's Lee Bunker now rounding turn 2. James Slater almost taking the gloss off the top of that paintwork on Lee Bunker's truck. Remember, they are fighting for grid positions on the final. Only 3 people will go through, so in the heats they are trying to get the highest position they possibly can to give them the best position on the final grid. But it's Lee Bunker now chasing down Dave Clutterbuck, who's in 3rd position. Lee Bunker coming through the alley over the water jump. But it's Lee Bunker who will take the win on this 2nd heat, takes the checkered flag. That is the orange car number 6 out front from James Slater and David Clutterbuck.
Yeah, it was just a breakage in the first one. Just things happen.
Well, it really is Mad Max meets World Rally. Never has so much fun been had in so small a package. Make sure you join us for more Nitro racing from Rem Con Raiders after the break. Well, you can see in this blinding action, front ends get bent, motors get tortured, and maybe even tyres have to be changed. This is heat 3. On the front row will be Lee Bunker. Remember, during the heats, you can start on the front, the middle, and the back of the grid. That is the 32nd ball coming down. James Slater on the left of the picture. We have a yellow light. It's going to turn green any second. And we have a green, and the race is underway. On board over there, you can see Lee Bunker goes upside down straight away. It is James Slater from David Clutterbuck as they come up to the firewall. Through the firewall, David Clutterbuck making an error there, tumbling off to the left hand of the picture, but it's James Slater now taking an early lead.
619 brake horsepower per litre. In comparison, a Formula 1 car used by Michael Schumacher nowadays has a capacity of 267 brake horsepower per litre.
Simply put, in layman's terms, these trucks are dynamite as James Slater goes through the Valley of Death. He's in 1st position, Dave Clutterbuck is 2nd, Ben Locke is 3rd.
Coming off the throttle at the right time, mechanical braking, getting that vehicle round that apex.
Thanks, Chris. It just shows you how skilled these drivers are. Remember, they are controlling these cars from the top of their podiums. When the car is coming towards them, the left to right steering is opposite to when they're going away from them, and this is a very, very difficult track to negotiate yourself around. It's only about 1.5 meters wide, and it just shows you how good these drivers are. We have the cream of Great Britain here today. Anyway, it's Dave Clutterbuck now in 2nd position, coming over the firewall and negotiating turn 3. Let's have another look at that. You can see the fire licking underneath the chassis. These aluminium chassis. It's James Slater now, Dave Clutterbuck in 2nd position, Ben Locke in 3rd. Bar any unforeseen circumstances, I would say James Slater should have this race in the bag. Leaping over the firewall, coming up behind young Ben Locke. The clay surface of this track just breaking up nicely. You can see on board how close this racing is, and you can see the dust spitting up. Tyre selection is absolutely fundamental to making sure you get the right grip. Dave Clutterbuck making a mistake there as he comes over the firewall. You can see the marshals who are on hand to try and put these cars back on, these trucks back on. It looks like James Slater there negotiating the trouble as he goes over the wall to jump. You can see the dense pack of drivers there focusing their attention as 3 of these teams will be going home today. There's James Slater making a mistake, being put back on by the marshals, but he's still got such a large lead. It hasn't affected it, but he seems to be all over the place. The question is, does James Slater have a problem with his radio? James Slater is now stuck on the Armco, and coming up behind him, dicing for 1st position is Dave Clutterbuck. James Slater now only 5 feet in front of Dave Clutterbuck. Can Dave do anything about it? Lee Bunker in 3rd position, Ben Locke in 4th. It looks like James Slater has survived that moment of complete panic. James Slater and Dave Clutterbuck in the background. James Slater completely straight as a die coming over the firewall. It looks like he will take this victory, and Dave Clutterbuck will be in 2nd position. James Slater coming round now on the last lap. Copybook driving over the tabletops. Again making a mistake. It's probably the pressure, but you can see the control of these cars as he comes through the firewall for the last time round the outside of turn 2. There's Ben Locke in the middle of T-Bone Alley, completely confused, and there's Carl Kimberley who's making up the back of the pack, but it is James Slater who takes the win. Well, that's a great win, and James Slater certainly will be making a great show in the final, as will be Dave Clutterbuck and Lee Bunker. Certainly 3 names to look out for.
Now, GPS, at one point I saw you peg it across that track to pick your car up and bring it back. What happened there?
I got a problem with my radio. It just turned itself off, and obviously once the radio goes off, you've got no control over your car. Luckily, it stalled rather than it could have just gone off a full whack and just not stopped until it hit the wall and smashed itself.
I was standing over in the far corner, and all I saw was your little figure running it across the track to pick your car up. Now, it didn't take you long to get your car back out onto the track, so it's not a major problem here for you.
I think what it was, I think the battery just come loose in the back. Because it done that, obviously, it turned the radio off. And I lost all control of the car.
What speed can these actually get up to on the track?
On an open track, like once they get going, I reckon they get about 50, 60 miles an hour once they get going.
Wow, that's quite a lot. Now this track, there's a lot of bends, there's a lot of turns. Does that make a difference to how your car is performing?
Yeah, because it's quite a small track, can't really get much speed on this track because it's slippy and it is quite tight and narrow.
So do you have to have quite a loose suspension because there's a lot of bumps?
Yeah, soft suspension, give it extra grip. Softer tyres and...
Oh, see, I do know what I'm talking about, you know. We've got about 15 seconds and I'm shutting the gate. Quick, guys! I'm going to shut the gate. Are they going to get through? Oh, no! Oh, God. Oh, what a shame. I haven't caught anybody yet, Russ. I'm still waiting for people to be stuck down there.
Okay, this is the big one. We are now ready for the final. Gentlemen, for the final, start your engines. Well, here we are on board as the cars cruise out on the warming up lap, going through the grid now. We're using a staggered grid on the final, and it's James Slater on pole position, Dave Clutterbuck on second, Lee Bunker on third, and young Ben Lock on fourth. Those surely are the 4 people to look out for. Remember, only 3 will go through. It's James Slater, pole position. We have a red light. We are looking at a 12-lap final, and we are underway. James Slater gunning it into turn number 1 over the Death Valley, straight over the tabletop. James Slater already keeping it nice and tidy as he comes over the firewall, turning into turn number 3. But it's Dave Clutterbuck that's starting to hound him down. A good landing from Slater puts him in first position. It's actually Ben Lock in second as they come over the line. A mistake there by Dave Clutterbuck puts him back into 4th position, but it's now Slater out front.
If you want to get more cornering speed out of these trucks, then you have to mess around with the suspension characteristics. Line the shocks down will give you a more twitchy vehicle. If you stand the shocks upright, then it's a little bit more docile coming out of the corners.
James Slater completely focused now on the job in front of him. Thanks for that information there, Chris. You can see apparently there's more suspension or adjustments that can be made on these trucks than on a Formula 3000 racing car. It just shows you how serious these races are. Everything could be tweaked from the tyres through suspension, through the motor, through to the radio. But James Slater now well out front, and in second position it is Ben Lock. If James Slater could just keep it on the brown stuff, he will be crowned champion of this show. Remember, only 3 people go through to the quarterfinals. It's James Slater coming through that inferno of the firewall and over the water jump to complete yet another lap in the lead. Lee Bunker is now in second position, Ben Lock in third, Dave Clutterbuck fourth, and Carl Kimberley in fifth. But James Slater just noses down there after having come over the big jump. Let's see if he gets in any troubles as he goes over the firewall. He certainly looks to have had some problems with his radio. Lee Bunker is now closing the gap down on James Slater.
The super fast engines on these 110 nitro trucks rev up to about 36,000 RPM. That's the piston going up and down the bore 600 times per second. It's just hard to imagine how quick that little piston is going up and down that bore.
James Slater still out front. It looks like he's just come up the inside of Carl Kimberley. Carl Kimberley is struggling now. The real question is that Ben Lock making a mistake as he comes over the firewall, completely nosing it into the dirt. The real question is who will be taking that valuable 4th position. Will it be David Clutterbuck or will it be young Ben Lock? There is Dave Clutterbuck now coming up behind Ben Lock. James Slater out front, completely in control. The question is 3rd or 4th, Dave Clutterbuck or young Ben Lock? We can see it's Ben Lock at the moment coming through the firewall, being chased down by David Clutterbuck. But young Ben Lock has now had a problem. Benlock had a problem there, and James Slater has come round. I believe that is Benlock changing positions from third to fourth. You can see James Slater coming over the firewall. Underneath your picture now, we can see Benlock in the Armco, and that is Dave Clutterbuck taking that valuable third position. So at the moment, Benlock is going home. James Slater coming now over the start and finish line for the last time. Can Benlock do anything about closing the gap down on David Clutterbuck? Of course, Lee Bunker still very comfortable in second position. But this is James Slater, and another error there by Benlock. Clearly the nerves getting to him. He was tucked in on the Armco. There's no way that he's going to recover that position. James Slater coming over now, first position. Lee Bunker second, and Dave Clutterbuck in third. If there are no other dramas, those are the three people that will be going through to the Rem Con Raiders quarter-final stage of this knockout championship. Remember, 48 teams have started, and everyone has to get through to the next round. It is a knockout. James Slater takes the win. So first position, James Slater, mechanic by John Marshall from Lee Bunker and Stephen Chin, Dave Clutterbuck and Joanne Russell.
Well done, you won.
Just took it easy. Stayed in the middle of the truck all the way.
Well, congratulations to David Clutterbuck there in third position. That is Lee Bunker. But of course, the winner today is James Slater in the yellow car. They'll be very pleased. A quick wave to the crowd, but they'll be going through. Well done to James Slater. A convincing win there. The Nitro's still hanging in the air. Everyone is celebrating. He now moves through to the quarterfinals. Make sure you join us for more Rem Con Raiders.
Rem Con Raiders are back tomorrow at 10:30, but right now